So, welcome to Better You in 52, week number 2. I'm Jake Van Payne. Thank you so much for being with us for this program for 2024, another edition of this. And what made this week or in this year easier is that the last time we had to go around with this program or attempt to do this back in 2022, we had a lot of progress. We actually had the whole thing plotted out and just life got in the way. And so we made it all the way to 17 weeks of video, 17 weeks of teaching. Week 17 happened to be get a mentor. Like I said in the opening of the program or as every week, this is not about a real program that is a 52-week step to step to step to step. These are little things that you can interject every single week that you can add to your arsenal to be better. As we say, starting off, you just say you want to be better and you're technically better as you are. These are just things to help you get better on this day, the next day going forward. Week 17 was get a mentor. We got 17 weeks in before we got to the whole mentorship thing because it was about building on a level on how to be better. And since that was the last one in the kitty, the lucky part was the slides are done. So we're going to start off early in week 2 and go with the mentorship angle. Now, it's going to be hard to do a mentor, hard to find a mentor. And that's just kind of the whole landscape of mentorship itself. It's great for you. It's usually great for them, but the whole process is a process. So don't get your hopes up that you're going to find your super duper guru who's going to walk you through everything in life and everything will be great because it's probably not going to happen. In fact, your mentorships will probably not work out as well as you think they will. And you'll learn a lot more from the failed mentorships or failed ability to connect than you think you would going forward. And that's part of the process and it's part of the problem. Mentorships means finding someone to literally show you the ropes, someone to teach you how to do things, finding a coach, finding a person who can guide you, finding a wise guru type person. Mentorship is just a sort of a analogous word, a word to use to say someone to move you from one place to the other, to mentor you by the definition. So the whole process seems like it's what you want going forward in anything you want to do. When you get signed as a new something in a new project, a new workplace, especially things like you have to grow into a new environment such as teaching or training or working with people, you usually have a mentor to walk you through the process of how things work, how literally the processes work, how to deal with people. And if you're brand new to something that's going to turn into a very stressful situation, how to kind of gauge you and your reaction and help you work your way through. Mentorship works that way, and it should be a great thing to happen. And mentorship is something that happens whether informally or formally, just regardless. People will kind of show up and walk you through a process just as you're there on a temporary basis. If you walk into a doctor's office, you get mentored, if you will, on how to do things better on that level. You may not call it a formal mentorship, but it is what it is. Any relationship where someone is guiding you through something better or out of something worse is essentially a mentorship. And they happen in various ways and they happen in various situations, and they tend to not be as long as you want them to be. Let's get into the points for this week. 5 points for getting a mentor, finding a mentor, keeping a mentor, and eventually being a mentor. And point number 1 is simple because finding a person to do this with will be hard. So this can be a virtual relationship. Your mentorship is a relationship, you and a something. And why we say something, because it may not be an actual person. It's maybe your relationship, if you will, with yourself. Maybe the relationship that you create by watching YouTube videos or reading books or going to seminars and kind of gauging off things there. Because your mentor will be more or less a person or persons, but they may not be an actual person that you can speak to. They may be someone you can call on the phone. They may not be a person you have actual contact with. If you're trying to get better at finances and you buy a book by Dave Ramsey officially becomes your mentor if you can take what he says. He's not the only financial guru out there talking things, and he's not the only one with his own separate opinions. In fact, a lot of people believe his opinions aren't very much valid in the way of working towards healthy relationships with money, but he's very popular. He has a great fan base, and they're kind of rabid, so they'll stick with that. The people who oppose him will come up with other things, and a lot of people are actually opposing him honestly just because clickbait, but it's there. You don't have to know Dave Ramsey. You probably won't know Dave Ramsey. You may hire the Ramsey Solutions people to work on your finances. In that case, you have some sort of relationship as a actual partnership that you're paying him for. But in most cases, it's going to be a virtual relationship. You're going to want to get a book on getting better for fitness. So you'll buy your most favorite fitness trainer's book and go through it for exercises. You may get a Peloton type bike and do classes with someone who is virtually there on a screen and do with that. You may go to an actual physical class and just go and sit in the back of the class and follow along with the person in the front of the room doing real things, but you're not actually engaging with them per se. You're showing it for class. That is also a virtual relationship. Virtual relationships are great because you can manage and control exactly how they work. And if something doesn't work, feelings aren't hurt when you drop their book or stop looking at their videos. I said DVDs. No one checks DVDs anymore. When you stop taking in their content, the relationship is over. There are no hard feelings. They don't have to feel bad because they failed you, and you don't have to feel bad because you can stand up to their standards. In fact, life is grand and awesome that way. You can have many relationships virtually with many different people and turn them into the relationship that you need and the bits and pieces that love you and are work great for you. A virtual relationship is a great way to get things started. You want to work towards actual physical relationships in a bit, because that's what a real mentorship actually works at. But if you're just getting started, don't know where to go, and need some guidance, a virtual relationship with someone as a figure that you don't necessarily know or work with, just sort of in videos and in books and things, is great. The relationship is there. You can call on them when you want to, when you need to, by just as quickly pulling out your phone or opening a book, but they aren't actual people. Now, your mentorship also, if they can be a virtual relationship, they can also be a real relationship. And this is where it gets good and it gets difficult at the same time. Finding a real mentor is going to be a chore, because you have to find a real person to actually have a relationship with. It's going to be finding a person who can teach you things and guide you through things and help you through whatever things that you're trying to get through. The relationship itself is sort of secondary to the actual what you're getting from them, but the relationship itself is a very important part. But it can be a real relationship. You can go to a personal trainer and you have a real relationship. You're paying them, so you have that going there. If something happens there and you stop paying them, they stop being your personal trainer in most cases. Maybe you make friendships and they work with you as a friend here or there, but that's not what we're talking about as far as mentorships. Mentorships are people who are telling you what to do. Their purpose is to tell you what to do, how to do it, because you want to improve and get better. So you have to do what they tell you so you can work to get better. It is what it is. It's not a friendship. It's not a one off. It really is someone who is there, whose goal in life, while they may be a friend or friendly in that relationship, they also need to help you progress going forward. If they're not helping you progress, then they are failing themselves in their want to be a mentor, and they are failing you in following them, or vice versa. If you are coming to them and not following the work, not putting in the effort, and just not caring about it, you are failing them as a mentor, as a person trying to teach you, and of course, failing yourself in the role going forward. Now, that's about the work part. A relationship for your mentor can be virtual, i.e., you get a book, you read the book, you do the work, and if it doesn't work out, you put the book away and no one's feelings are hurt. In a real relationship, when you break these things up, just like a actual relationship with a partner, when it's over, it could be mutual. You may have gotten where you need to be. You may have not gotten where you need to be. You just may have just gotten tired of each other. You may actually hate each other when it's over. But the relationship, it's over. There are whatever feelings that must be done and whatever you have to do to sort of get over the relationship. And in some cases, you outgrow them as a mentor, or they outgrow you being their mentee, and you just become equals and friends. And that could be something great. But the real deal with the relationship part of mentorship is the relationship part, because real relationships with real people are really hard. Have you met a person before? Are they just like you? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because how you interact with people is how your mentorship's going to actually have a role in creating what the glue that bonds the two together. Just showing up and giving someone money as a personal trainer is a great way to start a relationship, because that's based off one thing: they're making money off of you. And if you stop paying the money, the relationship is over. And then in most cases, it's really just business and it's no big deal. But fostering the real deep emotional connection for a mentorship, someone who really wants to guide you to something larger, or someone you really want to be around and learn from, is hard. because relationships are hard. There are 8 billion people on the planet, and you don't have to have the connection with that many of them. But the ones you do have connections with, you have to have some sort of way to deal with. Any connection you have with someone, even a coworker at work who you don't really get along with, is a relationship where when you have to do things together, how do you interact? Is it just, hey, I need this report done? Sure, here it is. That's your relationship. Your relationship is they ask for stuff, you give it to them, you go back to your corners and live on with your life. If your relationship is more of a casual friend thing where you can have little conversations about the weather or sports, that's a different relationship. If they're a person you've actually worked with for an intense period of time and you're actually working towards a common goal, some sort of big higher project, that's a deeper working relationship. That's something where you're going to get more intimate, more close, and know more about them because you're going to be in the trenches with them, fighting with them and for them in cases when things happen and things go around. They'll fight for you as well, which is how things go, a tighter relationship. But making those connections usually means a bit more vulnerability, a bit more emotions, a bit more honesty. And those are really, really hard to do. The first part of getting to understand you need a mentor is getting to understand you need to have better relationships with people. You need to work on your people skills to have a great mentor. And that may seem kind of odd because you may think of your mentor and you may actually, she may actually be a person who's sort of mean, cruel, and just sort of throws things at you, a sort of devil wears Prada style of a boss. But there is some affection, there is some sort of love for mentorship, and you have to deal with relationships. Now, you may have a contentious, sort of not so nice relationship, or you may have the most loving, caring relationship going forward. But maintaining those relationships with people are unique to each person, how they work, and they are really hard to do. If you're a person who is an introvert, your issue is not so much relationships in this case, it's basically being around the people and dealing with it. And one reason why introverts have such an issue with people is their connection with relations. When they connect with people, they connect with people and they need to connect with them. But if they don't connect with people, they just become a drain and tiring. For extroverts, they're not necessarily connecting with people as you think they are. They're gaining energy off the being nearby them, and they may connect with them and they may seem like your best friend as soon as you get to know them, and it seems that way, working that way, but that's not the actual relationship. That's an energy connection there. The relationship is what goes down when you're not dealing on the personality level, you're dealing with them on a personal level. And with that, knowing that relationships with people are hard, real people, because the books you can put away, your relationship with your mentor on long-term basis become really hard because people change and relationships change as people change. When you start realizing that you're not hanging out with as many as your high school friends anymore because you're 10 years, 15 years, 20 years past high school and the common ground that brought you together, showing up for class, is not there, it becomes hard to maintain that relationship. When you move away to the other side of town, to a whole other state, a whole other country, and you start working in different industries, different hours, different times of day, you start actually hanging out with other people and gaining other relationships with people. In those cases, you start having personal relationships with people such as dating and marriage that you didn't have when you were back in high school. Things change. Long-term relationships change and relationships change. For mentors, it's the same thing. As you learn more and they teach more, things will change. They'll have less to teach you if they're not learning more stuff on their own, and you'll have less to learn from them as you gain more repertoire and you pick up a few things along the lines from other folks. You don't have to be necessarily in the mentorship game, but as you learn a couple things, you'll realize that some things they say work great for them, but a variation of that theme works better for you. So long-term mentorships are hard to maintain because they are long-term. At some point in time, you have to leave. Your 12th grade English teacher may have been a great person to get you through 12th grade English and maybe a little bit of stuff for your first early things in literature for college. But if they're still teaching 12th grade English, and you're working towards a PhD in some deeper meaning literature culture, they can't do much to mentor you. They can be a friend, they can support you, they might be able to listen to what you're saying and tell you whether it seems like it makes sense or not, but they don't have the actual knowledge to give you going forward. So, as a mentor, the role is diminished. Great for friends, great for having for associates, maybe a good person to use for a reference for some time, but as far as mentoring, it's hard. If they can't teach you anything, there's no reason to be a mentor. You might want to hang out, but there's no reason to learn from someone you can't learn from. That is there. If you can't learn from them, especially if maybe your discipline that you worked on has shifted and you're going in a different direction, it may be the exact same, more or less, sort of topic, but not the same sort of thought process in it. You may have a sort of a schism, which is a break in a real relationship that will turn it from how they're teaching you. You can have a terrible personal relationship with someone and still be in a very good mentorship if they continue to teach you things. And sometimes you run out of things to be taught, and it's more or less you're just sort of watching people. There are great basketball coaches who all basically love to go sit at the foot of John Wooden, who, these are people who have outshined themselves in their work and done great things, but they still go talk to the coach and just get a little bit of wisdom to rub off because with age, they see he had even more going for them than any other actual teachings going on. And he also reinforced the things that were going forward. So, knowing that long term mentorships are really hard is something you're going to realize you're going to end them. But also, knowing that the joy you get and the work coming out of them are great means you need to do one very simple thing. You have to be prepared to be a mentor yourself because it is a bit about the giving back thing, but it's also about the fact that people just need to learn stuff and you know stuff. Anytime you know more than someone else, you are the guru, you are the expert, and you can mentor someone. And it doesn't have to be a long-term, long-standing, life with Maury style mentorship. Just be a short-term deal. And the situations are basically everywhere. As you get older and old enough to be older and old enough to know a few things, you'll find plenty of ways that you can mentor folks. If you are just on a high school basketball team and you are a senior and the freshmen come in and they get a little antsy, you can mentor them to get going forward. You can do that in the college level. You can do that on the pro level as well in a sports analogy. If you know a little more and someone else doesn't know as much, you mentor them. You become an unofficial mentor at your job site, even if they don't do a full mentorship, and help new people work through the processes and learn on things. You can be something in like a big brothers, big sisters sort of relationship where you go and help guide and teach and grow young minds so that they can have better lives. They learn a few good things from you, and you, oddly enough, will learn a few things from them. They also keep you young and relevant. That goes there. But you have to be prepared to basically open yourself up for mentoring yourself. And just after you have to open yourself up for mentorship. Because there's a mindset to both ways to go there. You've got to be able to be taught, be teachable. You have to have something to teach and a way to teach it. So be prepared to be a mentor yourself, and especially as you're trying to find a mentor, because as you figure out what needs to be done to be prepared for mentorship, you'll know what to look for and how to make connections. Let's go through the 5 steps we had for this week again. First, your mentorship, which you need to have one to help you get better. If you need to improve on something, you want to be better at running, better at fitness, better at health, better at eating, better at learning, better at technique. You need to find some information to get you there. And your virtual relationship with your mentor is great. Get a book, watch a video, listen to some podcasts, get the information in your head and process it, work it, see how it works well. And that relationship with that teacher, even if it's a robotic AI, is a relationship, and it can be virtual. They can also be an actual real relationship with a real person. These will help you out because a real person in real time can tell you, hey, dummy, don't do that. It's just how it works. They can help you with form. They can help you with processes. They can show you the way. They can point to things. They can listen to you go through things. And of course, they are shoulders to cry on if they're that type of mentor. Sometimes they're a shoulder to cry on and they'll just kind of smack you and say, keep going. That's how it goes. But a relationship that's real means a real person, and real relationships with real people are really hard. Know that. Understand that. All the things you have to do because they're not just there to siphon things off from you are important. That virtual relationship, if you don't like what they're saying, you put the book away and walk away. If you're paying someone for a relationship as a mentor, as a coach specifically, if you stop paying them or they stop taking your money, it's over. And your relationship may be good or bad at that end, but you don't have to have a nice, good, working, loving relationship with someone who's going to show up because it's a paycheck. The actual mentorship part of this is usually some sort of caring about the person on a greater level so they do better. And that means maintaining some sort of relationship, which is going to be hard to do because it's with humans. And because your mentor's a human, and because things change and the nature around your relationships and your mentorship status will change, long term mentorships are really, really hard to maintain. At some point in time, you're going to outgrow that person if you are the mentee. That person will run out of new things to teach you if they're the mentor, and the relationship will change. Now, as I used in the example earlier with old coaches and John Wooden stopped coaching a long time before he passed, but people kept coming to John Wooden and speaking with him and sitting with him for bits of knowledge, even though he'd written books and you could see all his body of work and he's talked to people and coached some of these coaches who were showing up at his feet and taught them everything he knew. They still showed up for that mentor relationship because it was at that point a real relationship, a friendship relationship. But the mentorship part, the teaching of things, that part basically had long dissolved. So there wasn't much more they could teach. It then became more or less just a real relationship. And as you're going through the process of working through your mentors, once you get enough knowledge and the ability to kind of work it out, because some people want to be mentors and find out they're not the greatest at it, be prepared to be one yourself a mentor. So if you want to be a mentor, find ways to be great at it. If you don't want to be a mentor, find ways to be great at it, because you'll probably end up doing it just in passing anyway. Someone will need you for a period of time, a season, and you will need them to be better. So you'll have to get them better so they can do what they need to do and move on and on your way. Sometimes mentorships out of sort of spite and need are the biggest ones because they're not going to be long term. And oddly enough, sometimes they turn into great loving relationships after you get past the sort of the spite and need of a person to get better, to move forward. But be prepared and work yourself right now, even if you're not really thinking you're mentor material or you don't think you know very much. You know more than someone else. You know just enough more than someone else to get them to the next step. So that's enough to make you a mentor. That's what we have for this week. We need you to do better, be better, get better. You want to do better, be better, get better. Great way to do that is to get a mentor to help you work through the items. Now, as we say, nothing we give you in Better You in 52 is a step by step progression. The things we do for this series are essentially one off hits that will add to your repertoire. And as we said, it won't take you 42 weeks to get better. It takes you wanting to get better and doing a couple things to improve that. And if you gauge that, you have a good gauge of what's going on. It's simple to say, oh, I've gotten better. It's that simple. But on the long term plan of personal relationships and personal development, which is what this is doing while we're spending 52 weeks with these lessons, it gets a bit more tough, a bit more determined, if you will, and you'll need more time to get into it. So we're going to be here providing you these videos every single week to give you another thing to add to your arsenal to get better, whether it's on a relationship thing battle, whether it's on a timeline battle, whether you are sucked into New Year's resolutions and doing it on the first of the year, or somewhere in the middle of the year an epiphany happens and you get stuck in some sort of spot where you know I must improve. Next week, another tip that will be not necessarily divorced from this one, but something that you can implement on a simple level. This week, go out there and start finding mentors. Get some books. There's your mentor. Virtual goes there. But if you know someone who can actually help you through things, ask them how they would feel about walking you through a couple things going forward. And like I said, if you go to a personal trainer or go to a coach and you pay them money, they're your mentor. As long as you pay them money, it works that way. Your relationship is based on cash. It's not necessarily a bad relationship. Thank you for stopping by for Better You in 52 for this week. It's week 2 for 2024. We'll have another lesson for you in this form coming up in 7 days.